Are you dreaming of the lifestyle that comes with successful trading? Well, it's time to make it a reality. Welcome to the Trading Ascension podcast, where you can discover methods to improve your trading results by focusing on your trading psychology. I'm Jason E., your guide on this path to trading improvement, self-discovery, and self-mastery. Together, we'll explore the personal and spiritual growth journey of profitable day trading. Prepare to unlock the secrets of the trader's mind and align your inner self with your personal success. Listen to this episode if you want to ascend to new levels of trading excellence and personal development. This is Trading Ascension, supporting your journey to mastering trading psychology and personal growth for consistent profits. Let's elevate your trading and your consciousness starting now. In today's episode, we're continuing the exploration of the foundational tools for trading improvement. Last episode, we explored the importance of capturing accurate data and how it serves as the cornerstone for reaching your trading goals and refining your skill set. Now today, we're taking it a step further. We'll focus on how to actually change behavior once the data reveals the exact areas that you need to work on. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say hope in the title. This is a formula that produces the emotion of hope. Hope in its verb form is to expect with confidence. When we fall, when we get slapped around on our trading journey, the lack of hope can make things worse. It can make a trader give up. Now, hope isn't an optimal state of being when we're showing up to the charts and trading. Expecting with confidence isn't the same as knowing. Knowing is a I am state in which we have removed the expectation part from the equation so we can act in our own best interest. But hope is what we need when we are addressing these challenges that we face and when we're in the middle of dark times on the trading journey. Using this information weekly, information that I'm going to give you today, using it weekly will help you hold on to the state of hopefulness, because in your data, you have information that you can literally monetize. That's exciting. So last episode, we clarified a starting point of capturing that data, right? What to capture, how to organize and focus your data so the end result can be the uncovering of a hurdle that, when removed, will elevate your skills, your knowledge, and your trading wisdom. This hurdle is something that occurs, fairly easily. It just happens, and you don't want it to happen, but it occurs. Some of our trading issues come and go, and some trading hurdles, they linger. So when you have a lingering foe in the battle, hope is needed. Hope in the situation is a light in the dark place, right? The place of setbacks and frustration. And without that light, you can be held there. But the hope gives you something to build from, so that flame of the light can remove any of the heavy, lingering fear that we take to the chart, the fear of bad decisions, the fear of bad results. So hope is realizing you at least have an action-based path leading away from how life is presenting itself right now to your desires. So if you're facing these issues, and trading issues, be hopeful. If you feel stagnant or stuck or lost as a trader, this show is for you. If you're currently discouraged, drained, or frustrated, but you're ready to start implementing real lasting change in your trading habits and mindset, this episode is for you. Now, I think it's going to be motivational, but it's not just motivation. Every episode has those action steps. Action steps. So getting into it, brief recap from the last episode. The path of hope that soon your trading will be rocking and rolling starts with a decision to take care of your future self. That's agreeing with yourself that you are committed to following the plan you created and adhering to your guidelines and capturing data. That commitment, it declares to yourself, it declares to the world, to the universe, that I'm willing to not chase things now that distract me, and I'm willing to avoid instant gratification and things that give me that short-term dopamine rush. I'm sacrificing that with discipline now So when the future me looks back, he's going to be thankful. He's going to be thankful I did this for him. So a decision, early in the process of trading to capture data now gives you the hope to continue the path, because we can use that data to find the baggage, and we can find the ideal state inside of us or I'll say unideal state inside of us that seems to support the action that we don't support. Or when we find that action, we are doing something that supports it. So we have to transcend that mindset. The hurdle is always a dual threat. Let me just say that here. And I'll come back to that, more on that in a bit. But there's always an action. There's always a mindset. In the mental realm, we are taking actions that are maybe normal for us in the past, or maybe they're normal for other life situations, but they don't work in the world of trading. So we should understand that these undesired actions and responses and mistakes, all of them have this level of familiarity to us. So it makes it even harder to get rid of them. So imagine this. Imagine your mind is an office building, right? As an analogy, the company used to make engine parts. Now they make microchips, right? And so I'm saying that the habits that you've had for a very long time are hard to change because they're so familiar. Even if it's, deep subconscious and not necessarily, something that we know in our waking mind, it's us. So mistakes in trading, they can just have this, they just get past the security of our minds because they've always been there. Everybody knows them. But when we need to change, they need to change. Things like taking trades in an area where you shouldn't be taking trades. That's not part of the new you. That's not part of the new business structure. So when that energy, that work, or that habit, when it shows up to ruin your adherence scores, we have to increase the to look out for them. We can't let, Tim walk in again. Right? Sorry, you don't work here anymore. Right? You remember, was it Office Space when the guy got fired? Always looking for a stapler and just still had an office there. It's a great movie. It's not easy to find the areas of yourself that need to be openly questioned. They have always been there. They've served your purposes. They've been great workers. But again, when you need to change, the old workers have to be given new roles or no role at all. So you find these parts of yourself in our trade performance and our trade journaling. And with that data, as these problems arise, we solve them because, like we said last week, the obstacle is the way. If it's hurting your trading results, has to go, obviously. So as we seek to improve this day over yesterday, this week over last week, month over last month, quarter over last quarter, the past versions we face challenges with require us to adjust or stay stuck. So today we're going to talk about, I guess maybe 6 things that you can do. Right? It starts with 6, but it breaks down. What did I say in the title? With 4 pillars? That's what it ultimately is going to break down to. But 6 items we'll mention, I guess the 4 pillars and 2 more that are going to help us ensure that we're getting better as traders and we're overcoming the current issues that we're facing. You can grasp at hope at first, and that can lead to lasting change. So we already understand that every result on earth has a way of thinking and a way of acting that produces that result. And even in different people, if they have similar results, they're from a way of acting and being that has some similarities, even though they're different people. So not exactly, but similarities. So all new traders, basically they're fumbling around to find the way of thinking and the way of acting, the way of being that produces their trading goals. And there's different routes to getting there. Some are clear. Some people just fall into them over time, but we try to do that deliberately here. So let me circle back. Remember when I said that these hurdles we face always have that dual threat? There's two parts of them. That means that they have an action we are taking and a mindset that we are taking to produce that result. So we look for clues in the actions we take, and we also explore psychology. But these two areas, they're always paired. So they're not separate, they're together. Every action has a hidden thinking path. And even, the thoughts we hold, they produce certain actions. But that connection between the action and the thought, it isn't always obvious at first. Like I said, that worker's been there forever. Our ideals have been in our mind for a long time. So to discover these, we find the best clues in our data. We look to see what's holding us back. The obstacle is the way, and we have to address it both on a mental, emotional, and on the action side to overcome that limiting thought and behavior, right? So we got some tips to help us with that today. One of the keys is to place your attention on growth intentionally rather than expecting it to happen automatically. Improvement requires focus, effort, and a clear plan. They call this deliberate practice. Don't leave your growth as a day trader up to chance. Instead, take control. And you can do that by implementing today's tools. So let's start there with attention, and awareness. I recently read an article that perfectly illustrated why attention matters and how it can be directed towards growth. So before we dive into today's topic of using hope to change behavior and eliminate self-sabotage, let's talk about why awareness matters and how it serves as the foundation for all meaningful growth. Now, in today's digital age, attention is a valuable currency. Corporations, media outlets, political entities, they all compete for it. They want to influence our behavior. They want to drive us into consumption. And you might say, well, what does this have to do with trading? Well, simply put, reclaiming your attention and directing it strategically can dramatically improve your trading results and really your life. So in that article I was reading, this is on psychologytoday.com. It was Michael A. Fear. He has quite a few articles on there, I've noticed. He's a mindset specialist. And he was stating in this article, there are 4 types of attention. All right. So let's explore them. And I forgot to write down the title, but if you look up Michael Fear on the topic of attention, you'll find, his articles. And he has, a wide range. So I don't think you'll find too many on the same topic. But if you do, let me know. I'd love to read more about him. So let's explore them and talk about the power that you have when you reclaim this skill. So Michael A. Fear identifies 4 types of attention, and understanding these can help us optimize our focus. So the first one was sustained attention. And that is continuous focus on one task, for example, reading the charts. Now, the benefit when you reclaim this skill from the leeches and you cultivate it is it deepens focus, enhancing learning and analysis. Now, the next is selective attention. And this is about filtering distractions, ignoring, the news while trading. This comes back down to the surgery rule we talk about. And the benefit here is that when you do this, when you focus on improving selective attention, it reduces cognitive overload and it improves efficiency, right? It lets your brain work a little bit longer because it's efficient. Number 3 is alternating attention, right? And this is when we switch back and forth between tasks, right? So maybe you're analyzing multiple charts. The benefit here when you work on this skill is it enhances mental flexibility and task prioritization. And maybe I'll circle back with a show on how to, work on all 4 of these, but I think some of it's obvious. And if you go down that path, of course, you'll find the answers you're seeking. But the last one is divided attention. This is multitasking. Again, surgery rule things, right? Trading while texting, Discord while text or trading, So the benefit of eliminating things in this area is it restores focus and it reduces overall errors that we can make. So the article also talks about levels of intention that can also be reclaimed. So you can go read that if you're interested. I'm not going to go that far into it, but it is a short read. What I will state is reclaiming attention at these levels through intentional focus, habit formation, and purpose alignment. It enables individuals to resist external manipulation and consciously shape their cognitive and emotional landscape. Right? So that's what we're going to talk about implementing today. And this is a vital skill for traders who are constantly bombarded with information and all this market stimuli. It gets easier, but it's overwhelming initially. And the reason I emphasize attention is because it's the foundation, the foundational skill for development. By directing your focus strategically, you can accelerate your learning and improve your trading skills, right? So last week or the last episode, we established a foundation for growth with a conversation on capturing data. Now it's time to use that data to close the gaps and improve how we trade. So next, we're going to break down a strategic and repeatable way to use data to adjust beliefs and actions that may have caused us to kind of veer off the set in stone framework that we had, right? It makes us not want to follow. I won't say not wanna, but it makes us not actually follow our trading strategy, our trading plan, our trading system. Think of a wide river, right? On one bank is how you traded in your last session. On the other side, right, there's a trader who understands and takes the actions of your trading plan. Now, at any moment, you can be on either side of that river, the I am side or the lacking side, but the river keeps flowing. Time keeps going on. And that's why, the time that someone's been trading is somewhat of a factor for success, but because experience is key. But at the same time, what if they were on the wrong side of the river for a long time? At any moment, we're either on the I am side or the lacking side as we move down this trading journey river. Now, with data in mind, the key elements to improve come down to 3 overall things. One is improving your emotions when trading, improving our strategic actions that we're taking on the chart, and improving our beliefs around trading. Now, in the day-to-day, let me take a quick drink. In our day-to-day action, it's easy to overlook areas we need to improve. Like I said, they're all the same workers in the crew that we've always had, right? They've worked in the office building of our mind, but now they have outdated jobs because we're changing. We're taking on a new endeavor. But these old folks, they that work there, our old ideals, our old mind, our old habits, they have security badges, door codes. Security knows them. They're our old habits, and they go unnoticed. So how do we find them with data that highlights which actions we are taking? It highlights the emotions we are feeling and beliefs we are holding that may impact our actions. It's all in the data. And I'll walk you through this with an example from, my early trading journey. And I'll just kind of gear this with some solutions that I've mixed, but just an example so you understand how to implement this. So we capture data and we're committing to a better future. That data will highlight the actions that we are taking and the emotions we are feeling and the beliefs we have that don't support being a great trader by our own standards, respectively. So we have a solid written strategy and goals. That's our North Star. And then we have our data that lets us know how we're adhering to that plan from 2 purposes. One, our plan adherence, right? What we're doing there. And then data also that says once we do take action the way we want to, is it working? Is it effective? Right? Or do we need to change the strategy? Plan adherence, 10 iterations, a small amount of data, and we start judging it and saying, hey, we might need to change. When it comes to strategy, you need a larger sample of data before you make changes in that area. Both areas are going to need changes on this journey. We're talking about plan adherence and how we are changing ourselves for this episode. in this series. So, for example, my back testing might prove that I've taken, trades that are 10 ticks or greater from the EMA, my 21 EMA. And then it says, looking at the data, oh man, I'm far more likely to lose a trade when I do that. And then I realized that I need this trading guideline, or maybe I already had the guideline that said, don't take these trades when price action is further than 10 ticks from my EMA. And I'm looking at the data, and it says I'm entering trades that are further from the EMA that the rule states. So it's Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday. I'm reviewing the trades of last week, looking at the trading data and all things, we talked about last week in the last episode. I'm doing all of that to get to this point that I'm clearly seeing that I broke my EMA rule more frequently than the other guidelines. Because it happened more frequently, that now is the number one focus for the next week. I'm going to eliminate this one problem. And I've looked in my trading journal and I've discovered that I wrote after a lot of those losses that either price action moved rapidly, right? And I was hesitant, right? I was acting too late, or what's this? I was really close to a meeting, right? So I was forcing trades. And a few times I just said, wasn't paying attention. So let's get into the meat of things. What stands in the way becomes the way. When I discovered my EMA rule breaking with spiking drawdowns, I turned to my journal and I created a 2-column exercise. On the left side, and this is for clarity, on the left side, the current actions, and on the right side, the new clarity of actions to take that improve on the former. So the left side might say something like, currently rushing trades before meetings, leading to taking them outside the 10-tick EMA zone. I'm lacking focus. And yeah, that'd probably be about it. I'd write that on the left column. And those are all the things that I'm going to improve on. So on the right side, new action is, I'll write something like, acting decisively within the EMA guidelines.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Are you living your life in clarity? Come join us as we want to help you live a life full of motivation, passion, healthy living, and spiritual clarity here on the Living in Clarity podcast.
That's right. We delve into topics such as self-esteem, dating and relationships, personal growth, and spirituality. You can always listen to the Living in Clarity podcast on YouTube or wherever you prefer to listen to your podcasts.
Come join us. We're going to fire you up.
The first thing I want to focus on is what's obvious to change, like a low-hanging fruit. So this is usually a new rule or simply adding or dropping actions. And I figured since I always have these meetings, why don't I just remove the stress from my trading, right? Why not avoid that trap? So new rule, I'm going to stop trading 30 minutes before these obligations. That way I'm not rushed. And if I'm still in a trade, I have some wiggle room and time to stay in that trade and not break any exit or management rules. So next week, one of my main focuses is stopping 30 minutes before an obligation. And, that's just a new rule, not hard to implement. Now, at this point, when we are eliminating rule breaking or habit changing areas, we can get stuck. We can run in circles as we face the same challenge the next week. And we do the exact same thing and react the exact same way that we did last week. So what do? Well, we all use different catalysts to cause us to change. Understand that change happens in an instant, right? But the road to get to that instant can be long. It's like water freezing. Freezing at that temperature, it happens instantly. But getting to that temperature can take time, right? Like when you put ice in the freezer. Change within us is the same. Happens instantly, but getting to that instant, usually a level of self-permission, it takes a while. And we all have different change catalysts, a point in which we allow ourselves to be different. But I have a starting point, a science-backed foundation to get you started that is holistic in its action and mindset approach to change. So we'll use this as a starting point, and then you can just hone it to your own needs. So I discovered this method of changing through the pain of losing, the frustration of continuing to make the same mistake week after week. I researched, I took wisdom from interviews we've done on the show to create a change system to help me when I was a very new trader. And I still implement it, here we are years later, because it's effective. It helps me improve and merge into the better trading version of me. This is Trading Ascension's 4 pillars of scientific behavioral change. So the pillars are focus, mindfulness, repetition, and cellular change. When we include all of these areas in our game plan to change and improve, we are more likely to have success in creating new habits. So let's break them down, and then we'll talk about how to use them in practice. So focus, right? Focus is directed attention on a specific task or goal, minimizing distractions. When we use focus, it is to prioritize a single task and to strengthen neural pathways for desired behaviors, right? For example, in my example, that's analyzing price action and its proximity to the EMA. So a key insight here in regards to focus is narrow focus during habit initiation. It creates what's called attentional gateways in the brain, and they block competing impulses. Simply put, we strengthen the brain areas associated with the actions that we are focused on. In the office analogy, we give new directives to the old workers. If you don't have focus, you'll not have a goal mentally and a direction guiding your actions, and you'll just fall back into the old habits. So next to change, right? Show up new, we need mindfulness. We can intend to change, but if the moment the change arises and we miss it, we've missed an opportunity to create a new thought path that serves us. So mindfulness is described as non-judgmental awareness of the present moment, thoughts and actions, right? So you decided to focus, but you have to be mindful in the moment. Mindfulness is more about dropping distraction, right? When we are focused on what we want to accomplish and free from disdain and we're more likely to disrupt habitual loops because we can insert that conscious choice in there, that choice between the stimulus and that normal routine that we usually take. And then 3 is repetition. Repetition is just consistent practice of an action. As someone with a trainer background, I strongly believe that repetition is the mother of all learning. How can it not be, right? Repetition streamlines neural processes, reducing the cognitive effort of an action as it becomes more reflective. Reflective meaning automatic. When we take action or when we think the same way over and over, we lock that behavior into our mind. If you think about, you ever seen a corner lot in a neighborhood? There's a corner open lot, right? No houses there. People usually just cut right through the field, right? I'm not walking around this field at the end of the block. And when you see this, you'll see that there's a dirt trail through the grass. It's been walked through so many times that nothing grows there. The path is smooth, rocky, dirty, while things grow on both sides of the path. And that's the brain's neural pathways when we have repetitive action. It creates that path. And the weeds on the side would be distractions, things that used to grow there, but they don't grow there anymore. The last pillar of change is cellular change. And this is a byproduct of all the other pillars because the neuroplastic adaptations, they occur when repeated behavior becomes embedded in neural circuits. So this means habits become default settings, right? When dopamine reinforced patterns are physically restructured in our brains. So when we make so let me stop right there because that's important. We're physically changing the structure of our brain through our actions and our thoughts. So when we make the same mistake, it's because that path is already smooth. What helps, is that we just go one thing at a time and we do that something and we show gratitude and we show celebration, and we not show what we celebrate the success, and we start to reaffirm that new commitment. And that's how we get that dopamine reinforced restructuring of the brain. So let's talk about implementing these pillars. I've created 3 action steps that include the pillars, so it's super simple to implement. So let's get back to the example. Within my trade performance data, the trading journal, as well as my trading images, the pictures I've taken, I've discovered an issue with my planned adherence, and I was entering the market when price action was too far away from my 21 moving average. So I discovered in my journal the reasons why, right? Rushing to meetings, lack of awareness, being hesitant. So the first obvious solution is I need to stop trading 30 minutes before these meetings, give myself some time to not feel rushed, right? So look for that simple rule to add on and get clarity on that initially. So simple guideline initially, and that's going to help me counteract the issue that I discovered in my data. So next, how do I ensure I upgrade and have the awareness beforehand, right? The awareness beforehand, and not be like, damn, it happened and I did the same thing. I missed the opportunity to change. And it's not going to be easy because that path through the lot is paved. So once you get on it, and maybe you're supposed to cut another way at a rock, but there's no path there. So you're used to staying on the path, and that's how our brain works. So for this to happen, we need 3 things that we're going to focus on. So you remember last week's problems become the sole focus the following week or weeks, however long it takes till that issue's destroyed. We commit to change, one change at a time. So I'm working with my EMA adherence rule. I set up the change methods, right? And the change methods that I'm going to implement are 1, there's 3 of them, a visual cue, 2, a chart related action, and 3, new affirmations. So I'll explain, and then we'll talk about what I did when I was really, having this problem and similar problems. So a visual cue, part 1. This is a tool to keep change on the top of the mind. The hardest part about changing a habit is remembering to do something different and avoid the automatic reaction, right? It's like a smoker. You ever seen someone trying to quit smoking, but every day their smoke break, at 10 o'clock, they go outside for 5 minutes, they hit a cigarette. And when at 10 comes, they're like, oh, shoot, it's time to do that again, right? But maybe 10 o'clock comes and the alarm says, hey, we're not doing that today. Today, we're going to eat a salad instead of smoking, or whatever the new habit is. So a visual cue is a reminder that we can see, for example, like a sticky note placed on the screen, a hand note in front of me. I've used a computer like window curtain, I call it, for lack of better terms, but I basically took a sheet of printing paper, wrote on it, taped it to the top of the computer. So I had to flip it up like a curtain to even see the chart, right? So every time I wasn't holding it, then it would fall down and I had to read it again, right? So cumbersome, but yeah, everything in this step should be an inconvenience initially, right? So those are just some ideas. Or maybe here's another one, a chart note, right? Most platforms give you the ability to add text to the chart. And then when you see this is a reminder that helps keep us attentive to the situation and the situations that may arise needing us to act differently. Okay, then next is chart action. And this is something reminding me to change that is part of the chart, right? So this is something that you actually have to engage with, actually do. It's an action step on the chart. And this is added as a step to prompt change. This is a chart-based action as a second level of change reminder. For example, when I was having trouble seeing like 2-leg pullbacks, my first trading strategy, I used a line drawing tool, and I would just do the zigzag of the pattern. Every few bars, I'm creating these new zigzags. And that was an action I was consistently taking as price action unfolded. And again, it's cumbersome, and exhausting because I had to focus and I had to think and not allow myself to become content with being, mindless for a moment, even a moment. So we have to remember to change in action, to change, and remember that, I feel like I should go a different direction here. Let's do this before we get to the last part. There is always a dual threat. Always a dual threat. So we have to holistically address these issues. We know them so well, either from the actions or from the habits, but we have to address them holistically, which means that we've added something as a reminder. We have an action that we're taking. So the last part of changing a trading habit is a new affirmation. This is a new way of thinking. This is a new internal language that is associated with your future self, right? The person, the version of you that has already overcome this current challenge that you're facing today. Helping you lock into a mindset, the mindset that you need, that's going to eliminate the old habit and help support creation of a new one. So this is what this looks like with the example of the EMA focus rule, right? And I'll go through all of these. So a visual cue, right? To not take trades far from the EMA. So again, I can add a sticky note and I would put it on all four sides of the computer, right? I am forced to see them. So I'm more likely to see the new actions on these notes and be reminded. I would write, what to do. Always avoid writing what not to do, right? So I will trade within 10 ticks of the EMA. I will never, and you should never write an undesired action, like don't take trades at 10 ticks, right? Don't write the negative version of it. We're empowering new pathways and we're taking attention away from old pathways. So always write this in a positive, this is what I need to do way, right? I've also used text box on the chart. Now this doesn't count as chart action, but I've had it on the chart in a little box that I would just drag over as far as possible. So it was always near the potential trade area. And dragging it, could be a chart action. So now I have this reminder saying, hey, Jason, hey, old mine workers, this is us now. So now I need to create a new habit supporting the goal, right? So I want something specifically on the chart to prompt change and never let me forget. So I want you to think about this and you have to get creative. For me, after contemplating, I looked for a distance EMA indicator and I didn't know if one existed, but I was shocked to find one. I found an EMA add-on that would cause my moving average to change colors based on the price action proximity to it. And then I could adjust it as I needed. So I customized it. I said, it's going to be green when price action's under 5 ticks away from the EMA. Then I'll make it turn yellow when price action is above 5 ticks, but under 8 ticks, right? That kind of, it works. And then the EMA on my chart would turn red when price action was 9 or more ticks from the EMA. So I have this on the chart, right? And again, I'm not taking this action, right? I'm not having to do much, but I am focusing on this new tool. And that takes effort, right? And it was deliberate action that I wasn't taking, the last week, right? So I'm supporting a new me. Now I need to work on changing deep within my subconscious, changing at a cellular level, letting the part of me that took that action in good faith know that we have a new direction. Now, listen to what I said there. I said that part of me, although I didn't want that behavior, I said that action was taken in good faith because we understand every result on earth has a specific way of thinking and being and acting to produce it. So we can trust the brilliance of our human brain. And, there's a quote from Bill Harris that says there's no wrong action, just the wrong goals. And I believe that, man. You ever notice how easy it is to do the wrong things? How effortlessly you can lose money, right? That's because you are accomplishing something with that action that aligns with a goal. It could be an unworthiness, like, oh, my parents said our family would never have money since great Papa stole that cow and we're all cursed. right? So now you have this deep belief from hearing that story as a child that says you're not worthy, right? So you're going to be taking this action to support that belief. And it's subconscious, just happens so naturally, right? It's so easy to lose and do the wrong things. One of the biggest innate drivers of human behavior is to align with current beliefs. Okay. I can be grateful for that support and those old habits, but now that I'm trading, I need to drop that old baggage, right? So I need to affirm my new behavior. I will create a new belief to imprint on myself. And this is different from the, initial right and left side of the chart, but it can come from there. So I might say something like, I'm a patient trader, always following my rules and entering with perfect timing. If I believed that deeply, that old action of taking trades too far from the EMA would be less likely to happen because it wouldn't be supported. It wouldn't have that duality of thought and action. It would fall to the wayside. So with that new statement, I'm going to read it affirmingly, which means say it like you mean it. Say it with your chest, right? While you're breathing deeply with intention. And I'm going to do this as much as possible. At times, for example, before I open the charts, while I trade, right? If I think about it, before I go to sleep, when I wake up, any other time it comes to my mind, I am reading this new belief on top of whatever routine that I'm doing in my life. It's a new add-on, creating a new me. We're serious about our trading, right? So for the people that say, oh, it's too much to do, that's fine. They're not as serious as you are. The person who takes on the required action, who focuses on change. So let's recap. The 4 pillars of change: cellular change, repetition, mindfulness, and focus, right? And I did that in reverse order. They're accomplished within the steps of using a visual cue, chart-related action, and implementing new affirmations. You have those 3 tools to help you change next week. With the general rule of avoiding, for me, trading in these meetings, I avoid what isn't necessary. That helps focus. With the visual cue, I support mindfulness. Now, to know that change isn't effective if we aren't aware when that window opens, I have to have this new affirmation to help me deeply at a cellular level change. And I say cellular level, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, because research has shown recent research, when we embody habits deeply, that information will eventually be stored in the cells for a quicker response, right? So new data, it's, I don't know if it's a fact, but I believe it just off life experience. So it's related to things like fight or flight responses. Those responses live in the cells, and that information is stored there so it can bypass the brain. Now, brain works quickly, but think about how efficient you are when you can bypass the brain and you react more quickly when the information needs to be deployed. When someone says, hey, is your name whatever your name is? You don't have to think about that. You know your name. It's deep within you. So as far as repetition, right, we're going to be focused on doing the right things over and over every single time with no lapse, no gaps, and taking the right action. As you do this daily, you're trying to improve your adherence weekly score from the previous broken rule score of last week. So if I got a 40% of the time I was following my EMA rule, I want to get that percentage up. Now, me personally, I'm not going to stop addressing that one issue until I start getting about 85, 90%. Right? Stop making that mistake. Some things can be eliminated 100%, but you definitely want to be scoring high. You don't want to take on a problem and then get 75% of the time you're doing it and then you move on, because it'll just come back to bite you. It'll zombie back into your career. And so this information is truly a game changer, and it's exactly how we can eliminate bad habits, self-sabotage, and the common mistakes that are holding us back. This can give you hope. There is a way out. There is light. You can do this. keep holding on to your goals and your dreams, you can do this. Like I mentioned last week, these shows are automatically now loading to YouTube. So if you like to, ask questions or interact with me on an episode, leave a comment on the YouTube feed of this show. While you're there, subscribe on YouTube. Give some videos a like. A lot of information there. Thank you for tuning in. And here's to being the hero of your story. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Trading Ascension podcast. I hope you found valuable insights to help you on your day trading journey. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your support by subscribing and leaving reviews helps me reach more traders like you and continue to provide this valuable content. Don't forget to head over to the tradingascension.com website for free resources, more tips, and exclusive content. If you can't wait till the next show, check out some of the previous episodes. They're great. But do join me on the next episode. And until then, keep ascending, stay mindful, and remember, your journey to mastering trading psychology for consistent profits starts with your willingness to embrace personal growth.